Most men are out here playing checkers, while the real players are playing chess blindfolded. You ever wonder how some men seem to effortlessly connect with women and take things to the bedroom the same night? It's not magic, it's not manipulation, it's psychology, confidence, and strategy. They lead with emotional safety, not desperation. This is the foundation of everything. The difference between a man who gets ghosted after dinner and a man who ends the night between the sheets often comes down to one thing: how emotionally secure he makes her feel from the very beginning. Most men think women are waiting to be impressed with money, status, or stories of conquest. But playboys understand that what women are really looking for, especially on the first date, is a man who doesn't trigger her internal danger radar. That radar isn't just about physical safety, it's emotional too. Women are constantly filtering for men who seem pushy, overeager, or trying too hard. When a man starts the date leaning in too aggressively, offering compliments too fast, or making sexual remarks before she's even finished her drink, he triggers a quiet but firm emotional retreat. The playboy, however, moves differently. He doesn't try to prove himself, he doesn't seek approval. He shows up grounded, relaxed posture, calm tone, a subtle smirk that says, "I'm enjoying this, but I'm not attached to the outcome." That energy is disarming. She can breathe. She doesn't feel like she's being sold to, or that there's a hidden agenda. And because he's not in a rush to make something happen, something does happen. She starts to lean in. She begins to share more. She laughs more easily. She feels seen, heard, and, most importantly, understood. And in a world where women are constantly objectified, judged, or misunderstood by men, this is rare. It builds trust faster than any pickup line ever could. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she opens. This is where the real seduction begins, not in his words, but in his presence. He makes eye contact, not in a creepy or predatory way, but like he's genuinely paying attention. When she talks, he listens without interrupting or trying to one-up her. When she shares something vulnerable, he doesn't make a joke or change the subject. He stays with her. He reflects her back to herself. And this doesn't require therapy degrees or complicated tactics. It just takes authenticity, awareness, and emotional self-control. He doesn't flinch if she tests him. He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't take things personally. She feels emotionally safe because he feels emotionally stable. Most men fail here because they're too focused on the outcome. They want to know how to get her into bed. The playboy, he's focused on creating a moment, not chasing a goal. That's the paradox. The more he detaches from needing the night to go a certain way, the more the night bends in his favor. His calmness gives her permission to explore her own desire without fear of judgment or pressure. She starts to feel like she's choosing him, not being pursued by him, and that internal shift from resistance to invitation is what changes everything. That's why it's not about looks or money. It's about the emotional tone he sets, the unspoken message he sends that says, "You're safe here. There's no rush. There's no pressure. Be yourself." That's the energy that bypasses her defenses. That's what makes her lower her guard. And when the emotional gate opens, everything else flows naturally. They use intentional body language. Long before a woman decides to sleep with a man, her subconscious has already picked up dozens of cues from how he moves, how he sits, how he looks at her, and how he exists in space. Playboy types understand that attraction isn't purely verbal. It's deeply physical and often nonverbal. From the moment he walks into the room, Everything about him is calibrated to communicate certainty, groundedness, and masculine presence. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't look around nervously or over-explain himself. He moves slowly, deliberately, as if he's not trying to keep up with the world, but inviting the world to slow down and follow his rhythm. His posture says everything. He sits back in his chair, but not in a lazy way. His spine is straight, shoulders relaxed, arms open or rested calmly. Nothing is closed off. His body is saying, "I'm comfortable with myself, and I'm comfortable with you." When he speaks, he holds eye contact, not in a way that's intense or invasive, but steady, anchored. It tells her, "I'm here, I'm not hiding." That kind of eye contact can be electric. It makes her feel like he's reading her without saying a word. He doesn't dart his eyes to his phone. He doesn't scan the room for distractions. He's fully present. That kind of undivided attention is rare, and it's deeply attractive. Touch is another layer to this. A playboy never forces physicality. He tests it, escalates it subtly, and responds to feedback. Maybe it starts with brushing a hand lightly during laughter, or guiding her gently through a doorway with a touch on her lower back. These aren't overtly sexual touches, but they communicate intimacy, confidence, and familiarity. He's not asking for permission every 5 seconds. He's reading her body language, watching how she responds, and adapting in real time. If she stiffens or pulls back, he backs off instantly and without making it awkward. If she relaxes or leans in, he builds on that momentum slowly. He's not rushing to get her to bed. He's letting tension build in small, nearly invisible ways. His voice plays a role too. It's calm, deep, steady. He speaks slowly with pauses. He's not trying to fill silence or impress her with his vocabulary. His words matter less than the tone behind them. When he lowers his voice slightly, it draws her in. When he speaks with pauses, it gives her space to respond, space to lean in. Silence, when used correctly, is seductive. It builds anticipation. It makes her wonder what's coming next. And that's the point. Playboys don't overwhelm with energy. They entice with restraint. Proximity matters. He's aware of spatial dynamics. He doesn't crowd her right away. He might start the date with physical distance, but over time he subtly closes the gap. Maybe he shifts his chair slightly. Maybe he leans in when telling a story. He knows when to bring his energy closer and when to pull it back. It's like a dance, and he lets her guide the pace while still leading with confidence. By the time he's sitting close enough to whisper something in her ear, it feels natural. It doesn't feel forced. She's already used to the warmth of his presence. All of this builds a layered physical communication. I'm a man who is in control of himself, and I know how to hold space for a woman's energy. That message is not spoken but felt. It creates a slow burn inside her. Her mind might still be analyzing the situation, but her body is responding long before she's fully aware of it. She's already imagining what it would feel like to be closer, to be touched more deeply, to feel that presence in a more intimate setting. That's the power of intentional body language. It's not manipulation. It's not acting. It's about being completely embodied, present in the moment, in tune with her, and completely comfortable in one's own skin. When a man radiates that kind of physical awareness and control, everything he does becomes more attractive, even his stillness. They know how to create a private bubble. This is one of the most overlooked yet powerful dynamics that playboys master effortlessly. While most men are stuck in surface-level conversations, Playboys have an almost uncanny ability to turn any interaction, whether in a noisy restaurant or a crowded lounge, into something that feels deeply personal, even sacred. It's not about having perfect conditions. It's about creating a feeling. When a woman feels like she's alone in the world with a man, everything changes. The moment becomes charged, like a secret that no one else knows about. That's the bubble, and inside that bubble, trust grows faster. Intimacy develops quicker. Defenses melt. A playboy doesn't start with typical date questions. He doesn't ask her what she does for work, and then nod while waiting for his turn to speak. He takes the conversation deeper earlier. He'll ask things like, what's something people misunderstand about you? Or when was the last time you felt truly alive? Questions like that stop her mid-sentence. They break her usual script. Suddenly she's not answering like she's done on 10 other dates. She's pausing, she's thinking, she's reflecting, she's feeling. In that moment, she's not performing, she's revealing. What makes this so powerful is that the playboy isn't doing it to manipulate her. He's not fishing for answers to impress her later. He's genuinely curious. He wants to know her, not just the version she shows the world, but the raw, imperfect, deeply human version of her that most men never see. And when a woman feels that kind of interest, it disarms her. She drops the walls she's had up all day. She stops measuring her words. She starts speaking from the heart, and that's where the real connection forms. Creating this bubble also means matching her emotional frequency. If she's speaking softly, he doesn't talk over her. He matches her tone. If she's telling a story about her childhood, he doesn't interrupt with a joke or shift the topic to himself. He listens deeply. He might respond with something like, "That sounds like it meant a lot to you," and then just let it breathe. He gives space, he allows silence, and in that silence something sacred happens. She feels understood, not just heard, but truly understood. That feeling is addictive. Most women go on countless dates without ever experiencing it. Environment plays a role, but not in the way most people think. It's not about fancy restaurants or exotic locations. A playboy can make a park bench feel like a candle-lit dinner if he knows how to focus energy. It's about positioning. He might angle his chair so they're closer, but not facing directly, shoulder to shoulder, not confrontational. This physical angle makes the interaction feel like they're on the same side, looking out into the world together, not two people interrogating each other across a table. It's a subtle psychological cue that says, we're in this together. And then there's the way he reacts to vulnerability. When she shares something emotional or personal, he doesn't try to fix it. He doesn't immediately respond with advice or compare it to his own experiences. He stays in the moment with her. He might say, "That's really powerful," or "Thank you for sharing that with me." These small acknowledgments carry massive weight. They tell her, "You're safe to be real with me." That's what creates the feeling of intimacy that most people take months to build. Playboys create it in an hour. What happens inside that bubble is profound. Time slows down. The noise of the outside world fades. There's eye contact that lingers a little too long. Silences that feel warm rather than awkward. A growing sense of unspoken connection. It's no longer about dating. It's about discovery. They're not just two people having drinks anymore. They're two souls opening doors that rarely get unlocked. And once that door opens, once that bubble forms, once she feels like she can take off the mask and be seen fully without fear, everything else flows naturally. This is the kind of energy that lingers in a woman's mind long after the date ends. It's the feeling she replays in her head, the emotional tone that draws her back in, the invisible thread that makes her want to stay longer, lean closer, touch more. Because inside that bubble, she's not just experiencing him. She's experiencing a version of herself that feels free, uninhibited, and completely alive. And once she feels that, the question of what happens next isn't one she even needs to ask. The connection speaks for itself. They let her think it was her idea. This is one of the most misunderstood and misapplied dynamics in male-female attraction. Average men try to convince, to push, to persuade, and in doing so, they create resistance. But the Playboy knows that when a woman feels like she's the one choosing, when she believes she's the one taking the next step, the power dynamic shifts entirely. He doesn't chase, he invites. He doesn't pressure, he plants ideas. And more importantly, he understands that women are far more likely to lean into intimacy when it feels spontaneous, emotionally charged, and most of all self-directed. The Playboy is a master at subtle suggestion. He won't say, "Let's go back to my place." That's too direct, too obvious, and most importantly, it removes her sense of autonomy. Instead, he might say something like, "I make a mean cocktail at home, but you'd probably think I'm just trying to impress you." It's playful. It's indirect. It's leaving a trail, not drawing a map. And if she bites, it feels like she's the one making the decision. She's the one initiating the next move, even though he laid the groundwork. The key here is emotional pacing. The Playboy never escalates too fast. In fact, he might slow things down on purpose. If she starts flirting heavily, leaning in, touching him, he doesn't jump on it like a desperate man. He smiles. He might even pull back a bit. This builds tension. It makes her wonder why he's not reacting the way other men do. That curiosity turns into intrigue. That intrigue turns into desire. And that desire starts to express itself in physical ways. She might find herself moving closer, touching him more often, suggesting just one more drink, or playfully accusing him of being trouble. And when she does, he doesn't act surprised. He treats it as natural, as if this was always going to happen, but he was content to let her get there in her own time. Reverse psychology is another subtle weapon he uses. Instead of saying, "You should come over," he might say, "You probably have an early morning, so I won't keep you out too late." He's withdrawing the offer before it's even made. He's planting the idea that he's the one setting boundaries. This flips the script. Suddenly, she's the one wanting to prove she's spontaneous, adventurous, not like other women. She might reply with, "I don't have to be up early." Or, "Are you trying to get rid of me already?" And now, without directly suggesting anything, he's created a situation where she's opening the door. Another layer of this is creating emotional investment throughout the interaction. A Playboy doesn't just flirt, he builds rapport on a deeper level. He gets her to talk about her dreams, her fears, her guilty pleasures. He shares just enough of himself to create a mirror effect. She starts to feel like she knows him, like there's a rare connection unfolding. That emotional investment makes her decisions feel more personal. If she chooses to continue the night, it doesn't feel like a hookup, it feels like the next chapter in a story they're co-writing. And because he's never pushed her, never begged for it, never even asked, Her mind justifies her actions. I wanted this. She tells herself, it just felt right. That self-justification is powerful. It removes guilt. It removes second guessing. It creates a memory that feels good to hold on to. The Playboy also understands timing. He waits for emotional peaks, the moments when laughter is high, or when vulnerability has just been shared, or when the mood has dipped into something more sensual. He doesn't try to transition awkwardly. He lets the moment breathe and then makes a move that feels natural. Maybe a pause after a joke, eyes locked for a few seconds longer than normal, a comment like, "You're trouble, aren't you?" said with a quiet smile. These aren't lines, they're cues. They test the waters without forcing anything, and often those moments are when she makes her move, touches his leg, leans in closer, or says something like, "We could keep talking," somewhere quieter. What makes this approach so effective is that it respects her agency. She doesn't feel manipulated or pushed. She feels like she's choosing something exciting, something that she helped create. And because the Playboy never tried to control the situation, he ends up guiding it completely. This is influence, not force. This is power without pressure. Women are far more likely to sleep with a man on the first date when it doesn't feel transactional, when it doesn't feel like she's being led into a trap. The Playboy makes sure it never does. He leads by not leading. He creates opportunities, then lets her fill in the space with her own desires. And when she does, it feels spontaneous, organic, and completely hers. That feeling is what makes the night unforgettable. They build sexual tension early without making it obvious. This isn't about dirty talk or overt physical advances. It's far more nuanced than that. A skilled Playboy understands that sexual energy is something you build, not something you demand. It's a slow rise of temperature, an undercurrent running beneath the entire interaction. It starts from the very first moment, the way he looks at her when they meet, not just scanning her body, but locking eyes for a beat too long, holding that gaze with the kind of calm, unhurried confidence that says, "I see you, and I'm already imagining more." It's subtle. It's silent, but she feels it. He doesn't pepper her with compliments. In fact, he often holds them back. When everyone else is calling her beautiful, he might just smirk and say something like, "You know what you're doing, don't you?" It's indirect. It's teasing. It creates a moment of self-consciousness, but in a playful way. Now she's wondering what he means. Is he complimenting her or calling her out? That ambiguity is magnetic because it puts her in a state of alert curiosity. And where curiosity goes, emotion follows. A big part of building sexual tension is timing. He lets silences linger. He lets eye contact stretch just past the point where most people would look away. That stillness, that pause, those are moments where the body starts speaking louder than words. He's not trying to make her laugh constantly. He's not filling every second with noise. He's allowing space for anticipation to build. Maybe he leans in just slightly while talking, then pulls back slowly. Maybe he lowers his voice when making a statement. Each move feels intentional, like a subtle test of how close he can get, and how far she's willing to let it go. Physical proximity becomes a tool. He doesn't crowd her, but he knows how to get close without triggering discomfort. During a conversation, maybe he leans in to say something, letting his lips come within inches of her ear. His breath touches her skin. He doesn't pull away quickly. He stays there for just a second longer than expected. It's a whisper, an almost touch. It makes her body react before her mind even catches up. That's the level he's playing on, not with logic but sensation. Touch is used sparingly, precisely, and always leaves her wanting more. A light touch on the back as he guides her through a door. A brief touch on the arm during a laugh. A hand on the lower back as he leans in to make a point. He doesn't linger, he doesn't grope. He touches and then withdraws, always before the moment feels too long. This creates an emotional gap, a hunger. It's like taking a sip of something intoxicating, just enough to taste it, but not enough to satisfy. That gap is where desire lives. Even the way he talks builds tension. He'll reference things with a double meaning. You look like trouble might sound innocent, but it carries layers. Is he talking about her attitude, her intentions, or what he's thinking about doing later? He never clarifies. That's the point. His words dance around the edge of suggestion. They flirt without diving in, and because he never makes his interest too obvious, it forces her to fill in the blanks with her own imagination. That's the most powerful erotic stimulant, her own mind. She starts thinking about what might happen later. She starts wondering what it would be like to kiss him, to feel his hands, and she starts projecting that energy into the moment, responding to tension that hasn't even materialized yet. He also knows how to create contrast. One moment, he's warm, engaging, and animated. The next, he's quiet, intense, locked in. That fluctuation keeps her off balance in the best way. She can't quite pin him down. Is he playful or dangerous? Is he sweet or dominant? That unpredictability fuels tension because it taps into the emotional roller coaster that creates deeper memory and stronger attachment. Her body can't relax fully, but not because she's uncomfortable, because she's stimulated. She's on edge, anticipating what he'll do next. And finally, he understands that anticipation is more powerful than action. He doesn't rush to the kiss. He doesn't force a move at the end of the night. In fact, sometimes he holds back entirely, not to manipulate, but to deepen the burn. He might look at her lips during a pause, smile slightly, and say, "I'm going to behave tonight." That one line, so simple, can ignite a fire. Because now she's wondering what would have happened if he didn't behave. She's wondering what he's holding back. And once a woman starts wondering, once her imagination takes over, the rest is inevitable. Sexual tension in the hands of a man who knows what he's doing is like a slow symphony. It doesn't crash in all at once. It builds over time, rises and falls, teases and withholds. And by the time she realizes how deeply she's been pulled into it, her body is already ahead of her mind. She's not thinking in terms of "should I sleep with him?" She's feeling something visceral, something magnetic. And in that state, logic takes a back seat. Emotion drives. The experience becomes inevitable. They maintain a sense of mystery that keeps her chasing more. This isn't just about withholding information or playing hard to get. It's about creating an energetic space where she constantly feels like there's more to discover. A playboy understands that the moment a woman feels like she has fully figured you out, the emotional momentum starts to stall. Humans are wired for curiosity, especially when emotions and attraction are involved. When a man leaves intentional gaps in what he reveals, when he carries himself with quiet confidence and doesn't feel the need to explain every move or thought, it activates that natural curiosity in a woman's mind. And once she's curious, she's hooked, because now she's emotionally investing in the discovery. The playboy doesn't overshare. He doesn't sit down on the first date and unload his entire life story, his traumas, his career plans, or his daily routine. Instead, he speaks in layers. He offers hints, fragments, little pieces that invite questions rather than answer them. If she asks him what he does, he might reply with something like, "I work in a space where I get to meet all kinds of wild personalities, some more interesting than others." That line doesn't give her much, but it gives her enough asterisk. Now she wants to know more. What kind of space? What kind of people? Is it nightlife? Is it entertainment? Is he being vague on purpose? That ambiguity doesn't frustrate her. It intrigues her. It signals that there's more beneath the surface, and that discovery has to be earned, not handed over for free. But it's not just what he says, it's how he carries himself. The Playboy moves with calm, deliberate confidence, as if nothing surprises him, nothing shakes him. He's unbothered by silence, unaffected by her attempts to impress or test him. If she brings up a provocative story or tries to gauge his reaction with a controversial opinion, he doesn't react predictably. He might raise an eyebrow, smile slightly, and say, "That's an interesting way to look at it." He doesn't reveal whether he agrees or disagrees. He doesn't fall into emotional traps. This neutrality drives her crazy in the best way. She wants to know what he's thinking. She wants to see what will make him open up, and that desire puts her in the position of pursuit. He also knows when to withdraw, not in a manipulative or cold way, but just enough to create space for her mind to start spinning. Maybe after a great conversation, he doesn't text right away the next morning. Maybe during the date, he disappears for a few minutes without explanation, then returns without making a big deal out of it. These little disappearances trigger a powerful psychological effect. She starts wondering what he's thinking about when he's quiet. She starts replaying moments in her head, trying to decode them. And once a woman starts analyzing a man, his words, his behavior, his energy, she's already deep in the emotional spiral that creates attachment. Even his compliments are wrapped in ambiguity. He might say something like, "You surprise me," in a good way. What does that mean? Surprise him how? What was he expecting? The compliment feels good, but it also opens a loop. It makes her want to chase the answer, to live up to the potential he's hinting at. And when she feels like she's earning his approval, not just receiving it freely, it hits deeper. It activates a challenge. That challenge turns into effort, and effort, when invested in the right man, turns into desire. Mystery also comes from boundaries. The Playboy doesn't overshare his schedule. He doesn't rush to answer every message. He's not always available, not because he's playing games, but because he has a life. He's in demand. He has purpose. She never feels like she's his entire world. She feels like she's lucky to be part of it. That energy of self-containment, of emotional sovereignty, creates a sense of gravity around him. It says, "I'm already complete. You're not here to fill a gap. You're here because it feels good, not because I need you." That's intoxicating to a woman who's used to men seeking validation or attention. She can't control him, she can't predict him, and that unpredictability becomes irresistible. Another subtle but potent element of mystery is the way he responds to praise or flirtation. When she says, "You're trouble," he doesn't grin and agree like every other guy. He might just smile slightly and say, "Only if you misread me." That kind of line creates uncertainty. She thought she had him figured out, but now she's second, guessing. Is he more serious than she thought? Is there a darker layer she missed? Is she the one being toyed with? These questions draw her deeper. Her emotional investment grows not because he's trying to seduce her, but because she wants to uncover what lies beneath the surface. Even the way he ends the date can keep the mystery alive. Instead of saying, "I had a great time, let's do this again," he might simply say, "Tonight was interesting," with a smirk. That's it. He leaves her wondering what he meant. Did he enjoy it? Was she different than expected? What part of the night stood out to him? That open loop lingers in her mind. She doesn't fall asleep thinking, "He likes me." She falls asleep thinking, "What is going on with this guy?" And that's the kind of energy that leads her to check her phone, replay conversations, stalk his Instagram, and wait for the next encounter with growing intensity. Mystery, when done right, doesn't create distance. It creates obsession. It doesn't make a woman feel rejected. It makes her feel intrigued. A playboy doesn't fake it. He is that man who has lived, seen, felt, and learned to contain his full story instead of spilling it on the first date. He brings just enough light to guide her curiosity, but never so much that she stops searching. And in that pursuit, she finds herself more and more invested. Emotionally, mentally, physically. She becomes the one trying to earn closeness, not realizing that the tension was designed to draw her in from the very start. And that's the difference between a man who merely dates and a man who captivates. The true playboy doesn't rely on tricks or superficial charm. He understands the psychology of desire. He knows how to create space, spark curiosity, and maintain tension without ever forcing the moment. He invites a woman into an experience where she feels seen but never fully captured, touched but never completely claimed. That lingering sense of wanting more, of chasing what feels just out of reach, is what makes the connection unforgettable. Because in the end, it's not about the act, it's about the experience. And the ones she remembers most are the ones that made her feel something she couldn't explain, something she still thinks about long after the night is over.